Hey there, Woodley Thomas, and I will be doing a lesson for a ninth grader. This will be a one-on-one tutoring situation, and the skills will be textual evidence and making inferences. So specifically, standard cite textual evidence that most strongly and thoroughly supports an analysis of what a text states using background knowledge to justify inferences drawn from the text, and demonstrate reading comprehension of age and grade appropriate text by speaking or writing. This student has a lot of trouble with comprehension. That's the communication skill that she struggles with the most. So I thought this would be a good idea to focus on these skills. Now, in this particular lesson, I would have already gone over making inferences and using textual evidence to prove an inference, and so that would be involved in my that would be incorporated into my anticipatory set. Then I would go through those skills, remind, and we would discuss the the students' memory of those skills, and this would be in the direction of creating what's called a character map. That would be the independent work that the student would end up completing. Now, this right here is an example of a character map, all right? Now, so what we have is different parts of the body that go for a particular question, and the student would use a piece of textual evidence in order to answer these questions while making an inference in service of this question. Now, the text that I would do is while introducing, and this would be the mini lesson part, is I would use the text Ferdinand. I used that in a previous lesson for kindergarten, but it would be easy to use in this case because what we could do is we could look at the text of Ferdinand. So, for instance, about how all he wants to do is sit quietly and smell the flowers. Now, so that would be an example of textual evidence. The inference that could be made is that he likes peace and relaxation, reflection, so on and so forth. Now, so turning to this character map, which of these questions would that serve? So, for instance, let's just say heart. That's an easy one. Now, so what the student would do is go to heart, try to answer that question, for instance, using that piece of text. So it'd be like he likes to smell the flowers, put the page number, of course, and then explain how that, what inference it could be made from that piece of textual evidence and how it could serve to help answer this question. So he cares about peace and relaxation. Textual evidence and inference, and in the inference, answer that question somehow. Okay. Now, so what I would do is, and this would be on just a small table because it's one-on-one. I would actually choose a couple of these to show the student how to complete a character map, and also character maps are good for creative expression, and that's the main reason I use this particular activity is because the student that I've been working with really likes drawing. All right, so she likes the opportunity to draw, and so little flourishes could be put in into the character map. Like, for instance, obviously Ferdinand's a bull, so if I was to do an actual character map, I would have given him horns, so on and so forth. All these things that can let a student use their creativity. Now, I would have already gone over making inferences and textual evidence through the text Everyday Use by Alice Walker. We would have already read that. In fact, the student would already have had annotations via Weava on their text, all right? And they will use those annotations in the service of creating character map for everyday use, all right? So after I go through an introduction to the character map and use Ferdinand to go through it, after that, Then the student will go ahead and create their character map for a character from everyday use. Let's say Mama or Dee or Maggie. And so then they would use their annotations to go ahead and match up some of these questions, to start working on close reading, and the concept of building meaning. And ideally, the student would start, if they were to master these skills, they would, or come close to mastering, or even just think about them, they would be doing them while they are reading. All right. So every sentence, be aware of the fact that every single sentence that you read is important in creating meaning that you will continue using throughout the reading of the text. So what do we see? All right. So let's see stomach. Okay. Let's think about Maggie. All right. Maggie wants, for instance, the blanket. All right. This blanket that her sister Dee, who comes back from college. Maggie is a little bit plainer and lives with her mom, and she's scarred, and so she just wants that blanket. So the piece of textual evidence that talks about that blanket could be that the answer to that question: what does she want? And then talk about how she wants the blanket, and then depending on how deep you want the student to go, talk about the blanket and how it perhaps could symbolize her desire to be more localized and actually use the blanket that has been used through generations, and which goes back to the title of the story, Everyday Use. Now, so another example could be what is a character's conflict? All right, a piece of text, a very exact piece of text that the student might have annotated. Let's say tagged and annotated is chin on chest, eyes on ground, feet in shuffle. That is describing Maggie. Let's say we put that right there for what is a character's conflict. Or that could be, if you haven't really talked about conflict yet, talk about like the character's what the character worries about, and that could be what is character's confidence. All right, she doesn't have a lot of confidence. An inference that could be made through that piece of text, and put that there, page number, and then equate that with the conflict. Now, so that is how the lesson would work. I only imagine she would be able to finish maybe 3 or so of those by the end of a 30-minute period, after I had done the anticipatory set and the mini lesson regarding Ferdinand, and then transitioned into her independent work. She'd probably only be able to do 3 or so. So I imagine that would be continued up until the following day. In terms of my closing, I would end up talking about her answers to these questions. I also would be working with her throughout her matching up her annotations and textual evidence and inferences with these questions. I'd be helping her, but I would end up like relating it back to the importance of looking at a text closely, and then move on into the following day, and where she would finish the character map. Now, I discussed earlier about how I think it'll benefit this student in particular, because she has her main communication skill problem is comprehension of text. So I think this idea of looking at sentences very closely and trying to pull meaning from them and make inferences is would be very helpful for her, because I think what she's doing is she's just reading over text, and if she doesn't understand it, she doesn't understand it. Whereas for her to understand that she's building meaning is important, obviously. I will use the character map and her relative success to determine whether or not I need to do it in a different way. Or reteach, or teach it in pieces. In any case, that is my lesson. And Woodliff Thomas, thank you so much.